say hello to Thrifty. Thrifty is a king plush clown that I purchased from eBay. Now, the seller really couldn't handle him and probably was not familiar with spiritual stimuli. They were an antique dealer, so the paranormal just wasn't their area of expertise, which is understandable. So I really don't blame them. However, what he has to say is a different story. Apparently, he did not like being within that household and he was left alone and neglected. Although, you know, uh, demons are a little bit deceptive. But also, sometimes spirits don't just outright lie. They will give you the information that you ask for. So if you ask, hey, what are you good at? And then you get maybe one answer, you may get another answer another time, because what you could have said is, what are all the good things that you are good at? And then on the other hand, they may just tell you everything at once. Or they may tell you things one at a time. Either way, these are spirits. They do not perform for you. They do not belong to you. They live in another dimension, another plane of existence, and they are beyond our comprehension. So I try to give them as much respect and space as they need. So immediately when I saw him on eBay, on the app, I was immediately drawn to him. And something just out of nowhere popped into my head. And it was a name, and the name was Thrifty. So before I purchased him, I got my spirit board out, or my Ouija board, and I started to communicate with him. And I actually had a wonderful conversation with him. He was very excited and very thrilled to come to my home. I told him a little bit about myself. He loves horror movies. We've already watched It and The Clown at Midnight together. And I've kind of just treated him as if he was a part of the family, really. As if he was my friend or my buddy or my pal. I understand that clowns are not something that everybody likes. I understand people are not fans of dolls either. Now, me on the other hand, I grew up with Barbie dolls. I grew up with teddy bears. I grew up with plushies and stuffed animals. And I also grew up with my aunt taking me to the circus, and I remember that being such a wonderful time for me. So when I see a clown, I don't associate it with something negative. I associate it with something that's very near and dear to my heart. But I do respect those that have trauma regarding certain toys, and as clowns as well. And I'm not gonna shove a clown in someone's face. But so far, he has had no effect with the family and no effect on me. Now, a little brief history is he was sold to me by someone that said they had given him to their 22-year-old son. Now, the 22-year-old son had some instances where he had moved his he had changed his position. He had also moved other objects, but the main thing was he had a nightmare, possibly several of them, regarding this clown. I know that sounds like it spells disaster, right? I know, but immediately I knew that there was something more to the story, and he claimed that, he was left alone a lot, and that he was neglected, and that they were not listening to him and hearing him. So kind of as a last resort, he communicated with them telepathically. So he's telepathic in the sense that he can project images, words, and scenes, whether you are awake or you're asleep. Now, the first night he was with me, he did not enter my dreams at all. He did not cause any nightmares, and I kind of told him, I said, if you're going to come into my dreams, it's not going to be a nightmare. If you come into my dreams, that's going to be a good dream for me. So that kind of, crossed that option out for him. I also, I told him, you are free to roam, you are free to create any phenomenon you want, whether it's externally or internally, within your environment, flickering lights, whatever. But you may do this just as long as you don't harm anyone in the household. And so far, he has agreed to that. And I know a lot of you are like, well, he's a demon. Of course, he's lying. He'll start off quiet, and then before you know it, it's The Conjuring. No. I'm very selective of the dolls and toys and haunted objects that I choose. First of all, I do not choose porcelain. I don't choose porcelain. I don't trust myself enough for that. I have 2 things that are porcelain, and I'm already having second thoughts about that. So, I have Ian, the clown, porcelain clown. He kind of winds up. And then I have Amy, who is a porcelain doll from Rite Aid, of all things. She came with a box and a teddy bear and a little purse. Adorable. I do not want any incubus or succubus. I don't want something that's going to drain the life out of me. Okay, I have dealt with narcissists before. I have dealt with neglect. I've dealt with abuse. I don't want to have to go through that again, of being emotionally drained by anyone, let alone a demon. I have posted, actually, I went on Facebook and I posted a picture of him with a description of what he was kind of capable of. And these are kind of what I wrote down. So some of the symptoms that someone would experience if they had him in their home is apprehension, cold spots, paranoia, nausea, some burning sensations that range from biting to kind of, that an icy feeling. So kind of like if ice was nipping at you. But so far it hasn't caused any physical damage, and he has claimed that he has no desire to cause physical damage. And there was a couple of times where I was ignoring him, and I felt, and I just kept twitching. And so twitching and itching are possible symptoms as well if you're around him. He also is very active. I used Ghost Hunting Tools app, and the graphs were just constantly active. He's very active. He interacts well with dowsing rods. He prefers, I think, the Ouija board because that is more clear and concise. And I tried asking him, I said, hey, what are you good at? What do you excel at that can interact and influence the physical world? Now, I thought that was a specific enough question, but apparently not. And also to keep in mind, when you speak to spirits, they may give you information, different information each time. That's not so much that they are lying, but because it's how you word it. So for instance, what are you good at? What are all the things you're good at? Might be a better way of putting it. But as I said, it depends on the spirit that you're interacting, and it depends on whether they're reasonable or not. And he's often very repetitive. I will hear like Pennywise music, like I'll be hearing that and pop up into my head. I've had the experience where I would go into, I would come into my room, and I just felt like there was something waiting and watching in the shadows for me. And most people will like run away, but as I said, I have lived in let's just say in my past, I've been taught to fear a lot of things, and I did fear a lot of things, and it kept me from learning and exploring and figuring out who I was. And it is okay to be afraid. It is okay to be scared. But I have found that through an assertive and understanding and compassionate attitude and acknowledging these spirits and their existence has worked wonders for me. It may not work for you. You may choose not to ever interact with spirits. You may think that maybe it's against your religion. Maybe it's something to do with, your core, something that you've experienced in your life that just didn't go well. And I totally respect it. As I said, not everybody loves clowns. Not everybody loves dolls. I, on the other hand, grew up with clowns. I remember going to the circus and having having just a wonderful time. And so when I see a clown, I react and respond positively. But I respect those that have had trauma regarding clowns and that kind of thing. And just because I understand trauma. I understand trauma very, very well. And I also understand what it is to be left alone and to be neglected, just kind of left to your own devices. So I am a firm believer that that really, and I've had people say, hey, you should burn this. I'm saying, I'm sorry, I'm not going to burn money. I'm not rich, okay? So I can't afford to burn money. I'm not Elon Musk. So I don't want to do that. I also don't want to burn my boards. I also don't want to destroy vessels, because if just kind of telling you, just if I were to burn this vessel, I could possibly make things worse, depending on what kind of spirit it was. But if I were to destroy the vessel, the spirit would have to find a new one. And if it is a demonic entity, it's not going to give up. And it quite possibly could go after your friends, your family. It could try to possess something else that's in your home. Burning is for me, would be the last resort. And as much as I love fire and that kind of thing, I prefer to burn candles and incense, not toys, not books, not any of that. I think that's very primitive, and I think it's a little bit narrow-minded to think that, oh, let's burn it. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think so. But what you do in your own time is, that's your business, obviously. And then somebody else said something like, oh, you need to, not interact with it, put it away somewhere, and put it in a vessel that's been blessed, and douse him with holy oil, or, and that was a suggestion and a recommendation, which I thanked the person in the comment section. I said, thank you. I said, he has been purified. I have selenite. I have incense. I bless my space every day. I have taken the precautions necessary. I also have holy vessels, which I have used to purify him, and he's been on some selenite. He also has a ring of protection right there. That's actually very interesting. He wanted this in particular. I don't know why. He wanted it. I was like, hey, do you want a ring? And immediately, he didn't like any of my rings that I had, but he liked this one. So, and it was a little bit hassle to get that on there, but it's there. So I am safe. I'm not experiencing as weird as these symptoms may be, like the cold spot and the apprehension. I am mentally fine, as well as emotionally. And the first day, obviously a lot of apprehension, but I think it's quite common. Even if a spirit is angelic in nature, there's going to be apprehension, because when you buy something or you bring something in your home, they don't know. They don't know what to expect, and neither do you. So it could possibly be that they're just emotionally mimicking you, or the fact that they just really are unsure of their environment. If they were sent to your house, especially, they've gone through an entire journey. They don't know where they are. They might not know what's going on, and the best thing to do if you're going to purchase thing is just to kind of communicate with them and say, okay, this is who I am, and you're welcome in my home, just as long as you don't harm anyone or hurt them. uh you know, be free, do what you want, because for one thing, I'm not going to tell a spirit what they need to do. They do not perform for you. They do not belong to you. You might have bought them on eBay, you might have bought them on Mercari or Poshmark or any other online seller, or at Goodwill or whatever, wherever you got them. That doesn't mean that they are yours. They are beyond your comprehension. They live in a different dimension. And it is to my belief that if you do not acknowledge a spirit, it is very much like not acknowledging a person. When you do not acknowledge someone, there's a frustration, there's an anger that kind of forms, and leaving what you believe to be a demonic entity without knowing if they mean you harm or not is kind of like putting an adult in timeout, forgetting about them, then remembering, and then just leaving them there. That's not going to go over very well. And this is a demon, so they have seen possibly all of time. Maybe they saw the creation of the universe, who knows. They are ancients. They've never been human. They know a lot about humanity, and to underestimate them and think that, oh, it's just going to go away if I put them in a box or put them in a room and lock the door. Have you seen Poltergeist? Did things get better because they locked that door? No. The phenomenon just increased because there's a buildup. There's a buildup. When you are not seen and you are not heard, acknowledged, you become frustrated. You become you either go to self-loathing or you loathe the people that are around you that are ignoring you. And from what he said, and I will take it with a grain of salt, obviously. You know, I don't believe that everything is completely accurate. You know, sometimes I might not pick up on things, and it's all about, you know, you might discover new things every time you talk to them because maybe you didn't specifically ask to know a certain thing, or maybe they were waiting for the right time to tell you. But you know, just don't think that they're outright lying. It also may be just that is how they view it. Now, for instance, the way you view a situation is your truth because it's the way that you see it. That's your opinion. That's your viewpoint. Now, if now I might see the situation that you're talking about a little bit differently, especially if I was there. I might see it in a different view. Because I am a completely different person. The same thing goes for spirits. They're all going to have a unique perspective. They're unique individuals. They are independent as well. So definitely respect. You know, I believe that you should give respect, regardless if they are angels and demons. Do not think because they are demons that and that you're this good holy person, that you're any better than they are. You're not any better. You may not even be any stronger either. But besides that, don't ever think that you're an exception. And I find it is best not to be aggressive. I have never strived to be aggressive towards any spirit. In fact, I have found that being assertive and not freaking the flip out, you know, freaking out and getting scared, I've found that they are more receptive and when you stand your ground, when I say stand your ground, I don't mean like, I will banish you if you do not agree or cooperate with me. Which, yes, I know how to banish spirits. I know how to do that. Do I want to do that? No, I don't. First of all, it takes a lot of energy. Secondly, I, I have the resources for it, but it's definitely a process. It's something that it's like burning or putting things away. So I don't think that it is best to just put a toy or a haunted object and lock it away somewhere and then expect it to work. That shows that you cannot handle that entity or that object, and it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to have this in your home, and if it's causing that many disruptions, give it to someone that deals with these kind of things. Some paranormal investigator, somebody that collects these objects, somebody that can really perhaps be more grounding to them. And also, some of these objects, things might be hella haunted, and you give it to them and they're like, oh, it's a horrible experience. But then you give it to the right person, and the right person deals with these objects. Sometimes that's all that it needs. I've seen that with people where there's this one person that's just a total diva, and then all of a sudden the right person shows up and they calm them down. It's all, really about location and the person and just really the agenda. I find that it is better to live with harmony with these demons rather to be against them. Now, in my opinion, locking away something with holy water or holy oil, either in a box or a room, is kind of if the spirit has no, otherwise is not, is, let's just say that the spirit is unreasonable. If the spirit is unreasonable and will not listen to reason and won't work with you, or even come to an understanding, that is not something you want in your home. That is not something you want to have there, because that essentially is a very powerful being, but will not listen to you and will not hear you out, and will essentially become a danger to you. As I said, I do not want an incubus or a succubus. The reason being is a succubus or an incubus can either be, depending on the person, I suppose. If a person is into that kind of thing and they like they like the life being drained out of them, then to each their own. No judgment there, but I prefer not to have that experience. My energy is very precious, and I don't want to give it out to just anybody, especially a demon. Succubus and incubus don't always cause physical harm. Often it's just emotional or it's mental. However, over time, it can become a physical issue, especially if you're not aware that that's what's going on, or, let's say that you weren't consensual with that agreement. But if it's consensual and you're fine with it, who am I to judge? That's what you do in your own home is your business. It's your life. Do what you want. I could tell you what you need to do in your life, but, it'd be pointless because you're going to do what you want anyway. So, besides that, it's been very entertaining, kind of just seeing what this one paranormal, especially this one paranormal Facebook group, what they say that I should do with him. They were all recommendations, and I all thanked them, and I tried to be as lighthearted as I can, because I understand people have different opinions regarding this, and some do not want to associate with demons. That's just not their thing, and that's entirely okay. That doesn't mean that they are wrong. It just means that that's their truth, and it's not my job to tell them that they are wrong, because very well in their eyes. They think that they're doing the right thing. And they were giving a recommendation. They were trying to be helpful. So you know, salute them. So I thank them very kindly. But I think the only time that you would want to lock away a haunted object is if it is indeed so entirely haunted that it causes, you know, physical damage or damage to the environment in which it's in. Then yes, you would want to put it somewhere. But if you cannot handle something, give it to somebody that can. You know what I mean? Because haunted objects aren't for everyone, and paranormal isn't for everyone either. Sometimes people can't move through their fears, and because they just haven't addressed them. Anyhow, I hope that this was helpful. I understand that if, you know, this freaks you out, um, please take this with an open mind. This isn't so, you know, if this is against your religion or it's against your morals or that kind of thing, yeah, you can say, hey, I don't agree with this. But the thing is, I'm gonna do what I want, regardless of what your opinion is on this. Just like you're gonna do what you want. If I told you my opinion, I could say to you, hey, you're not doing the right thing. But really, in all actuality, we all have an opinion. Just be compassionate and be understanding that just because I'm doing something that you wouldn't do does not mean that it's bad or wrong. And I hope all of you have a beautiful, blessed day.